A, 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 A. We are reading in the writings of their article, what is the assistance that he who comes to purify receives in the work. The study material is on and you can ask questions to the SES. Anyone asking a question in the study hall should stand up, hold the microphone close to his mouth and speak loudly and clearly. What is the assistance that he who comes to purify receives in the work? They asks what, why is it written come unto Pharaoh? It should have said go on to Pharaoh. What is come? Moses was afraid of him when the Creator saw that Moses was afraid of him. The Creator said, behold, I am against you, Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Creator and any other had to wage war against him, as you say, I the Lord, which they explained, I and not another. This means that the answer to why it is written come is because Moses could not defeat Pharaoh, king of Egypt, by himself. The Creator waged war against him in that case. Why did he say to Moses, come, if Moses could not defeat him, but only the Creator? How does Moses help in this, and why is it written come on to Pharaoh? We should also understand the words come unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart, that I may set these signs of mine within him. All the interpreters asked why after the first 5 plagues the Creator took from Pharaoh their choice, and if the Creator took from him their choice, why is Pharaoh, why is it Pharaoh's fault that he did not obey the Creator? The answer to this, says the writing, is for I have hardened his heart. And why did I harden his heart? It is not because he is at fault, but for another reason, as it is written, that I may set these signs of mine within him. Hey, because the Creator wanted to set his sign, he took from him the choice, so he will suffer plagues. This is difficult to understand. Does the Creator who created the world in order to do good to his creations, for the creatures to receive only good? Can it be that? Can it be said that because he wants to show his signs he hardened Pharaoh's heart so he would have an excuse to give him the sign? Seems like one who benefits from his friends' downfall. It was said about the verse, and the new king arose who did not know Joseph, and one said truly a new one, and one said whose decrees were renewed. We should understand how this is interpreted when interpreting in the work that Pharaoh is the evil inclination that is within man's body. How can it be said that he is actually new if the evil inclination is called a foolish old king? The Zohar said that the reason is that since the evil inclination comes to a person as soon as one is born, as it is written, sin crouches at the door, meaning at as soon as one is born, the evil inclination emerges along with him, whereas the good inclination comes to a person after 13 years. Therefore, why does it say, and then you, king, arose truly in you? Instead, we should say that the foolish old king who is the evil inclination is not something new in a person, rather as soon as one is born it is present, as it is written, a wild ass is see a man is born. What does truly you mean? To understand the above, we should know what is the work, that one that was given to us in T and commandments. That is why do I need this work. We learned that the purpose of creation is because of his desire to do good to his creations. Hence, why do we need to exert ourselves is receiving pleasure. This act of receiving pleasure, called work, we see that reception of pleasure is considered a reward and not work. However, this is as we learned that in order for the creatures not to feel shame when they receive pleasure, since the branch wants to resemble its roots, and as our root bestows upon the creatures, when one does something that is not in the root, he feels unpleasantness about it. So in order to correct this, so that when the creatures receive, they will feel wholeness in the pleasure, and there will be no flaw in the reception of their pleasure, there was a correction called simum, restriction and concealment. That is, as long as the creatures have not obtained vessels of bestow, they will not receive and will not feel the pleasure that the Creator wants to give them when engaging in tea and metivi they still do not feel the delight and pleasure clothed in, and this is why it is considered work, since the importance of a king is not yet revealed, that it is worthwhile to serve him. Because of his importance and greatness, this is regarded as the divinity being in exile in each and everyone. If there was no importance, it is considered that there is in the dust, meaning that there is no flavor in it whatsoever through the sin of the tree. The knowledge, our sages said that the serpent came to Eve and cast filth within her, interpreted that the serpent, which is the evil inclination, cast filth in her, meaning let her understand this, what that is the serpent cast a floor in. Mal was called Eve and said this, what that you are working for the kingdom of heaven. It turns out that as a result we must work before we obtain the vessels. Thus, bestow through the vessels of Theo we can receive the delight and pleasure that the Creator wants to give to the created beings. It follows that when we say that there is work in observing tea, and it does not mean that observing the Torah and mit is work, but that the work is while observing before we can direct them in order to bestow as he. Then there is work, since we are placed under the rule of the evil and the serpent, as was said that the serpent cast filth and blemished. For this reason we are under the rule of the will to receive for ourselves, at which time the delight and pleasure in Toh and Mitivi are not revealed, and this is all the work to obtain vessels of bestow. Only through vessels of bestowal are the tam and concealment that were placed on Torah and removed for the delight and pleasure are not revealed in vessels of reception. At that time we are given the Torah and to observe as an advice and a remedy. That is, we must aim while observing to while we still cannot aim that they will be in order to bestow, but these 63 that we observe will bring him the ability to achieve for us. In the words of our sages, this is called lishmer, not for her sake, meaning that by observing lishmer not for her sake he will come to lishmer for her sake, because the light in it reforms him. It follows that when a person sees that he cannot do everything in order to bestow what should do so as to come to be a giver, ses advised us that he should learn lishma, meaning in order to receive. This is the only advice by which he will achieve lishma. There is no other advice. In the words of the Zed, this is called 61,318 counsels, meaning 613 counsels. These are his words. The in the are called our commands or deposits in his Zed, as well as 61,318 counsels or tips. Advice. The difference between them is that in all things there is panem, anterior and a posterior or back. The preparation of something for something is called a back or anterior, and the attainment of the matter is called panem, face or similarly in, and there are we shall do, and we shall hear when observing to metivi as doers of his words prior to being rewarded with hearing the voice of his words. The mitat are called 61,318 and are regarded as or when rewarded with hearing the voice of his word. The 613 metivi become kin from the word pon, deposit. This is so because there are 613 metivi, where in each mit where the light of a unique degree is deposited. We therefore see that there are 2 times in observing, one during their preparation regarded as doers of his word. At that time it is called work, since he has not been rewarded with hearing as then a person is still under the governance of receiving in order to receive the state on which there was a sum restriction and concealment, where the delight and pleasure are concealed from the Torah, and a person must observe the 613 metivi as counsels, meaning that by this he will be able to be rewarded with vessels of bestow 10 time when he is these tim vessels. Theum and concealment will depart from him, and he will obtain the delight and pleasure which was the purpose of creation, to do good to his creations at that time. 613 are called 613, wherein each mitzvah the light that pertains to that mitzvah is deposited. Then there is no more room for work, because he has already been rewarded with working for the sake of the Creator and not for his own benefit. This is as they of says when he explained the verse, "You did not call upon me, Jacob, for you labored in me," is he said that if a person says that he has labor in observing T, and it is a sign that you are not working for me, says the Creator, this is the meaning of "you did not call upon me, Jacob." The sign that you are not working for the sake of the Creator is that you say that you have labor in observing too. And since when a person works, the concealment and are removed, and he begins to attain the delight and pleasure that exist in T and MIT, which are called 613. By this we will understand what we asked, if the purpose of creation is to do good to his creations. From where does the work in and come to us? The answer is that in order not to have shame, concealment, and were made, it follows that the delight and pleasure are not revealed in vessels of reception. Hence there is work. 1. Because we must work against our nature, for we were born with the desire to receive for our own sake. 2. For by making time, we must work on what is important, meaning we must work on going above reason, and we must believe that there is a leader to the world who watches over the world as the good who does good. These two things cause man labor and work, and require great overcoming in order for man not to escape the campaign in the middle of the work. This is so because when a person does something, he must see progress in the matter. If he sees no progress, he says that this is not for him. Since he sees that he is not succeeding, this causes him to want to escape the campaign he is in. The truth is that there are two kinds of assistance from above, meaning that without help from above we cannot attain it. 1. The see the vessel, meaning the lack that is a lack to know what is the real lack, so as to know for what to ask for help from above. In other words, often a person is lacking something for which he becomes sick. The doctors give him medicines, but it does not help him because not sick with what the doctors think he is. It turns out that he comes to the doctor who prescribes him a medicine, but the medicine does not help him, and all the doctors have already discouraged him that he may stay with the illness for the rest of his life. Finally, a professor comes along and says that he is sick and tormented because there is a substance deficient in his body, and this is why they cannot cure him, while he says that he is suffering from something that causes him the illness and the suffering. Therefore I will give him a cure according to the substance that I think is deficient in his body, and he will be well right away. Afterward they saw that he was completely healed. That first one must know what he is missing, so he can observe. And a person might think many things, and for each thing he receives a medicine, but it does not help him, because the reason why he cannot walk on the path of truth is not what a person thinks. It follows that he is praying to the Creator to help him, to give him thing what he thinks, but what he thinks is not the truth. Hence a person is not healed from the control of the evil inclination. For this reason, first a person receives help from above to know the illness from which he's suffering, that is, he thinks he's deficient of something quantitative, meaning he needs more time to learn and more brain's talent, etc. And for this he prays that he will help him. However, in truth the person is deficient in quality, should know that the main lack within him is that he has no importance to feel that there is the upper guidance. In other words, he is lacking faith that the Creator leads the world in a manner of the good who does good. If he could really feel this, he would rejoice that he is receiving from the Creator delight and pleasure, and he would not want to part from the Creator for one moment. He would know what he loses by turning his thought to other things if he does not think that this is what he is lacking, but that he is lacking other things which are not important in the work. Then the first assistance that person receives from above is to know his evil, his main obstructure, for which he cannot be a true servant of their Creator. This help must come first, and afterward it is possible to make corrections. That is, a person must come to a state where he knows that he needs only two things, which are mind and heart. This is all he must strive to obtain. Hence the first assistance that a person receives from A is this lack. However, this cannot be revealed in him at once, but gradually, according to his work, when he exerts in the work to achieve the truth, to that extent receives assistance from above. Once he has obtained the real CLE, meaning the real lack that he needs, then is the time when he receives the real filling that is suitable for the play. It therefore follows that a person receives from above both the light and the clean, meaning the need called lie. In other words, what he is lacking hurts him, yet not everything that one does not have is considered a lack. For example, a person who has abundance and is enjoying life, when a person comes to him and asks him, "Why are you so happy? I see that my neighbor's son parents are very, very wealthy and respected, and yet I saw him suffering. That is, I saw him walking with a tormented expression. I asked him, my friend, what is it you need? Your parents are very wealthy, so tell me, what is it you need? Are you unwell?" So he replied, "I was supposed to get my doctor's diploma, for which I labored many years, but I failed the test, and I am sad that now I do not have a doctor's diploma." Can it be said that any person who does not have a doctor's diploma regrets it? Rather, as said above, not everything that one does not have is considered a lack. A lack is something that a person wants but does not have. This is called a lack. For this reason, when we want to measure the intensity of the desire, we measure it according to the suffering one feels at not having what he yearns for. Therefore follows that the first assistance that the upper one gives to the lower one is the awareness what he should obtain. Suffering from not having obtained it is regarded as the upper one giving the lower one the. When the lower one has a real need, the upper one gives him the second assistance, namely the light and the feeling of the lack. By this we will understand what we asked: if the Creator knew that Moses could not fight and defeat Pharaoh, king of Egypt, by himself, but the Creator himself, as it is written, I and not a messenger, why did he say to him, "Come unto Pharaoh"? This implies that together with Moses the Creator can help, but the Creator said, "I am not a messenger." So how does Moses help us? Here, why is it written, "Come unto Pharaoh"? It means that a person must begin to work on the path of the Creator and achieve the truth, meaning to be rewarded with adhesion with the Creator. Then, if he advances in the walk, the person receives the first assistance, the sensation of the lack, to know what he is lacking. Subsequently, he grasps that he is lacking only two main things, mind and heart, and along with it he receives suffering at not having them. In other words, he feels the need for this at that time. If the person does not work by himself, it cannot be said that he is suffering from not having that. Only the need for something. If one labored to obtain something, can it be said that he has a need for it to the point that he's suffering from not having it? This is why it is written, "Come unto Pharaoh." It indicates two things. One, the person himself should exert, such as the allegory about the doctor who labored many years to study medicine and finally failed and did not get the doctor's diploma. Then it can be said that he is suffering from not having what he wants. If he did not exert, it cannot be said that he is suffering from not achieving what he wants, since the labor one puts into something awakens the desire, so he will not escape the campaign because he is sorry about all the efforts he had put into the matter, and he always thinks perhaps I will finally obtain what I wants, that by working even though he cannot obtain it, the labour he exerts each time invokes the yearning for the matter. It follows that there are two forces here: one man's power, who must toil not in order to obtain the matter, but in order to have a strong desire to obtain the matter. That man's work is required in order to obtain the need for the Creator's help. This is called a complete desire. In other words, it is not that man's work causes the obtainment of the matter, but rather the obtainment of the lack and need for the matter, and in order to know what he is lacking, this he receives help from above by seeing each time that he is more deficient and cannot emerge from the governance of Pharaoh. The assistance is called for I have hardened his heart. It follows that the hardening of the heart is required in order to know I'm sorry, in order to have a real need for a real thing. 2. At the same time, we must have the Creator's help to give the light, as it is written, I am not a messenger. This means that since by nature the will to receive for oneself, called a foolish old king, controls a person, and man's ability to change nature is only in the hands of the Creator, meaning that he made nature and he can change it, and this is called the Exodus from Egypt, which was a miracle. This is why it is written come, meaning both of them together, as we say, come together. Likewise the Creator and Moses. Now we can understand what we asked. Why is it written, for I have laboured, for I have hardened his heart, that I may set these signs of mind within him? We said that it seems as one who benefits from his friend's downfall, that as the Creator made him wicked, so he would show his signs according to the above. The meaning of set these signs of mine refers to the light, for the light is called letters. Follows that he made him wicked, meaning deficient, so he would have a complete CLE vessel to receive the light. This means that the letters are not for the sake of their Creator, but for the sake of the created being. By this we will also understand what we asked, what is, and the new king arose, since he's an old and foolish king. The answer is that each time his decrees are renewed, that is, each time the evil inclination is made a new, because I have hardened his heart. It follows that anyone whose design is great, his inclination is greater than him. This kind of article addresses everyone, and everyone must feel that this is the work that's before you, and there's nowhere to run, but only to fulfill what's written. How that works out in the 10, we have to see that to ourselves. Shot questions. K. Concerning what he said, he writes in the article, you have to check the quality of their work. How does one check the quality of one's work? There are no measurements here, clear measurements. However, the main thing that we examine is the quality of the work. Quantity in spirituality in general is not accounted for, but the quality is so. What is the quality of our work? It means how much do I have a relation to the Creator, how much I belong to the work, and that is the only thing I'm looking for. How much I also demand from the Creator to have more qualitative work, because just plain work that can almost be in any person in the world, but the qualitative work that's already very special. Can we connect the quality of the work to a person's intention? It's a feeling of connection, of being with the Creator, and in the work in a more special way. Question, can I ask you something more? What question? He says a person has to overcome, and is his inclination in the work. This overcoming, does it come from the Creator or from the person, or is it both? The overcoming is on behalf of man, that he'll see exactly what's in front of him that he should overcome. Now that he himself essentially summons these difficulties, he says, well, first of all, he gives many examples like the doctor and the example of the Seraphim, but he says he lacks only two main things, which are mind and heart. Only this he needs to try to obtain. What is a deficiency? A lack of mind and heart there. Lack of the mind and the lack of the heart are two forms of contacting the Creator. This. It's that the Creator is good that does good, and He does everything only for the benefit of the created beings, and the fact that the Creator like it how to put it. Also the fact that the Creator is He alone does everything and doesn't need any help that we have to relate to Him. Only this is the matter of their heart. How do we scrutinize these two things specifically? Because He says this is all that a person needs. That's not really problem like we do this in mathematics when we have an exercise with two variables or unknowns, and to clarify them we give some number to x, and then we can look for the y, and then the other way around, then we know what calculation there is between them, what kind of connection, and that's what we do here talk about when you say x and y. You mean mind and heart. Yes, let's say we're checking only the mind. Now let's see what's missing here, and then only the heart, and see what's missing here. Yes. Okay, I wanted to ask in regard through this point that he keeps repeating that the labor should be not in order to obtain, but to develop a desire for something. Yes, what does it mean exactly to develop a desire? Because when you work in order to attain it. So what does it mean to develop a desire specifically for Him in order to attain? When you have a desire that separates you from the Creator, you have to discover to what extent and in what manners. Why? What's the reason? What's the background that specifically this desire works in you negatively? Then you begin to see that recognizing the desire that you now attain, that itself heals it. When you begin to understand what is it, where, from, why, and then it no longer distances you from the Creator, rather that it helps you. If you, for example, we say we have to connect, so you want to obtain connection, you want to be in the connection. Here are the conclusion from the article is to the contrary, that you have to work in order to develop a desire, not in order to obtain something that's the opposite. Yet, so how do you work in order to obtain a desire? Because when you work in order to obtain something, you want to obtain it. You want to get a hold of it. But a desire is something else. It's what motivates you. It's what moves you. Desire we achieve only by the light, as the light first develops the desire within man, and then he wants more in different manners, and so forth. And then when a person sees that he becomes somewhat distant from the source, then he begins to ask to get closer. He's willing to diminish the desire as long as he can be closer to the Creator, but the Creator no longer does that. He doesn't take the desire down, because that goes against the development of creation. And so what does follow is what follows is that he then brings the person closer, even though his desire becomes greater. If the Creator is the one who gives a person the desire, how to make the Creator give you the right desire to format you with a precise desires for the goal. It always happens this way. We don't need to ask for it, even though it appears to us that we need other desires, but that's incorrect. Meaning we have to just ask for closeness, and by what desire will it come, and what order of desires will appear within us. But that's not for us to determine. So closeness to what are we asking to the Creator? We're asking for closeness to the Creator, and then He can organizes you. Yes, say asking for nearness to the Creator means that you have to sort out your desires in different forms, in different ways. Then you receive a series of lights that come to you, small ones, and these lights, they sort out for you. They organize your desires in both their order as well as their height or intensity. Unless a person becomes more and more knowledgeable, he can distinguish and reveal his general state. Okay, how do I come to a state where all I need his faith that the Creator leads the world as the good who does good. I have to think about it more until it becomes a greater lack within me. Said that's it, there's more, but it will appear on the way. How do you tend to come to such a deficiency where besides faith in the Creator the heel leads the world in good and doing good we don't need anything? What else could we lack using the T to come to this deficiency that everyone will talk about it even though they're not in it yet, but envy, lust and honor they do lift the person, and that will influence it. Everyone. Again God said to Moses, come to Pharaoh. Moses came, saw the evil, revealed it all. Our sudden right deficiency is revealed, and with the deficiency come the suffering that I haven't achieved my goal. Now I see in us, in the world, clean friends. Hear that there are friends who are really like every moment, all the time. They are in with this intense deficiency. Whereas I tend to kind of dismiss this deficiency in order not to suffer. So how do I not? How can I be happy with this deficiency? Because this is our real property, our real possessions, to live in this deficiency and perhaps even be happy about this suffering that we haven't reached it. Because this is our way to our drive to connection to the work. How do I not dismiss it even if I agree so it doesn't push me out of the way? I'm here for the friends and all that, but I can't inflate, magnify this deficiency. You feel yourself very far from their friends, no close, so high close if they think in an opposite direction to you. I can see in them this intense deficiency, but in whereas in me it's small, and it's hard for me to maybe tolerate the suffering I haven't reached, but I'm here for them. I don't feel far from them. Problem is to be similar to the friends, or to acquire the desire that exists in the friends, to acquire the intensity, fear the suffering that the right deficiency gives me. No, you're not giving. I answer to be in the same deficiency there's in the friends, or to be close to them, to be in the same deficiency as the friends. So you have to be close to them, do the same things without asking oneself, but to incorporate with them, starting from the smallest corporeal degree and then more and more and more. Yes, that's how it'll happen. All right, okay, what are we doing next? One said we check our desires, sort them, and as a result of the sorting we get different lights as we correct them. How is the sorting done correctly? I read in my heart. To what extent? To the extent that I'm within contact with this and that or the other friend, and I as if scan them to see who's closer, who's really a clothing on my will to receive towards the same goal, and so forth. That's what I'm trying to do, and that's it. That's how we advance. So I have to check my relation to the different friends in the 10 in this way. Okay, if I may make another precision, we keep talking about having to try to reach a common connection, not to distinguish between the different friends. So what's the right way to check? I say failure is closer to me. He goes close as someone else is. Father, it'll come later. Romania 1 round. Now I understand what you told me about 6 years ago. We must not make assumptions, but we must make some kind of checks by which all we can test the Creator's answer to our test. Understand that there is only one condition: to be devoid of personal emotions. Repeated. A difference is that now he understand. I can't hear, you can't hear me. It's like you're not in my me. Are yes, now yes, we must. No, yes, the friend says that 6 years ago he heard from love that he mustn't make assumptions regarding the Creator, regarding relating to the Creator, but he needs to check regarding his relation between himself and the Creator, and the only thing he can scrutinize is to what extent he's devoted to the Creator. This is basically what he said. Yes, there is such a test. Okay, what are we doing next? Part writings of exile and redemption, and the Passover book. So before we move on to the next part, let's sing a song together. For For, yeah, we are reading in the writings of Bassam. We are in the article exile and redemption, the article exile and redemption, for an harmony between religion and the law of development or blind fate, and among those nations you will have no repose, and there will be no resting place for your feet, at which comes to your mind will not be at all in that you say we will be as the nations, as the families of the land. Crater will evidently show us that Israel cannot exist in exile, and will find no rest as the rest of the nations that mingled amongst the nations and found rest and assimilated in them until no trace was left of them. Not so is the house of Israel. This nation will find no rest among the nations until it realizes the verse, and from there you will seek the Lord your God, and you will find him, for you will demand him with all your heart and all your soul. This can be examined by studying Providence and the verse that states about us the Torah is true and all its words are true, and woe to us as long as we doubt its truthfulness, and we say about all the rebuke that is happening to us that it is chance and blind faith. This has but one cure, to bring the troubles back on us to such an extent that we will see that they are not kosher, but steadfast providence intended for us. In the Holy Torah, we should clarify this matter by the law of development itself, the nature of the steadfast guidance that we have attained through the Holy Torah, as in the path of Torah in Providence fear a far more rapid development than the other nations has come to us, and because the members of the nation developed, so there was always the necessity to go forward and be extremely meticulous with all the mitzvah of the T, because they would not do so, but wished to include their narrow selfishness, meaning the develops the ruin of the first temple, since they wished to extol wealth and power above justice as do other nations, but because the Torah prohibits this, they denied the Torah and the prophecy and adopted the manners of the neighbors, so they could enjoy life as much as the selfishness demanded of them. Because they did so, the powers of the nation disintegrated. Some followed the selfish kings and officers, and some followed the prophets, and that separation continued until the ruin in the second temple. It was even more noticeable since the beginning of the separation was publicly displayed there by virtuous disciples headed by Sadok and Bos. Their mutiny against our sages revolved primarily around the obligation of mer, as our sages said, wise men, be careful with your words, because they did not want to retire from selfishness. They created communities of this deplorable kind and became a great sect called were the rich and the officers pursuing selfish desires, unlike the path of Torah they fought against. Find they're the ones who brought the Roman kingdom's rule over Israel. They're the ones who would not make peace with the imperious, as our sages advise according to the Torah, until the house was ruined and the glory of Israel was exiled. What he says about the people of Israel, that it's a special people, if I understand correctly, that it has to reach its purpose, yes, and in the third paragraph, he kind of says that the third or fourth, he says, and then the decree was it's all the truth, and as long as we are saying that about all this, that it's only a matter of faith, there's only but one remedy, and it is to bring back the troubles upon us, where from the people of Israel, suffering more and more, they get some kind of study from that, or destiny from it. Purpose, I guess, we not go through all the troubles yet. It's not yet unclear how troubles brings our reason. I don't know, that's how he writes about it, I guess. But in the end we'll see. In the previous article they gave the example with the doctor and said the good doctor gives the sick person the understanding of what he's suffering from. I'm not going to unmake any calculations here, like in the study of the worthy or something. I'm reading what he's writing, and I'm trying accordingly to arrange mine. Intellect accordingly where I understand. I understand where I don't understand. I don't understand how from blows the people of Israel are supposed to feel. That it's not understood, so I guess that still ahead of you don't understand now, and you will understand later. There's no room for such questions. Like in the history of the people, there's always some part that is trying to progress as much as it understands the Torah, and a part that even willingly breaks off of it, breaks away. We can also see that today the question is that the Creator or nature trying to come in his calculation of connection in the people of Israel, does he only take the calculation on those who are trying, or in that whole package also those who don't want part of it, who needs to be in that connection? Those two parts are only that part that is trying in the Torah, that part that is trying to follow where Torah, he has to reinforce itself, bind itself together, and go out against the part that wishes to retire, and by that it's not losing itself, since it retires only from the physical connection and the ability to make corrections, but nevertheless he's connected to that source belonging to the people of Israel. Therefore these incidences, the calculations, there will not help the part that is trying to connect. Does it need to take into account the part that is kind of kicking away the Torah? Okay, yes. And it seems, according to what's written, that the people of Israel need to understand that there's an upper force, and that we need to sort or arrange ourselves according to it. Yes, and there's this phenomena at the upper force today that it doesn't even exist. So the question is, does there need to be explanation or dissemination that we do start to awaken people? Guys, there is an upper force, and we have work to aim ourselves towards him, or is it relevant to our period of time? Or I think that it will become extremely relevant, but we need time, a bit more time. And from here at the moment, does it feel like that we can take something to dissemination, all kinds of layers or forms, or do you saying it's not yet well be able to take something? Humanity will face such questions, then it will have no answer for them, will have no support looking into the future, and that's going to be the situation. We are on the verge of change in nature. It will project such situations on us that will have nothing to say, no way to explain anything to ourselves, nothing. Soon it's starting already, but not everybody can see it's so really to continue. That he writes that because they didn't want to make peace with those according to the sages, and until the house was ruined, and this caused the exile. So what's to make peace? Peace is from the word shalom, from the word shalom whole. It's the name of the Creator. To make peace means under the rule of the Creator, to accept it with all your heart. So what does it mean that there's a need to make peace from the groups of people? Or there cannot be peace if you have different rulers and rules and groups. That's not the right approach. It's politics. It's not peace according to the Torah. So peace according to Torah is to simply be adhered to the Creator. Yes, he talked about there is supposed to be a change in humanity, a change in nature that won't enable humanity to remain indifferent. I don't know how to repeat your words exactly, but we know that all our work is in the 10, and in the connection between us. I am trying to ask and to constantly understand and feel it more. How do we in our work in the 10, in our work in connection, how do we influence outwards towards all of humanity? With what intention, with what relations do we have to exert in our connection between us, so that outside there'll be less blows? Because this nature will probably not come in some kind of caressing, it will be harsh. So how do we make the advancement to be good to all of reality? I don't think there will be a good progress or bad progress. I am thinking about how and when can we clothe our world inside the intention of the Creator, and the time for that has not come yet. Time yet, and therefore your complaints are not real. You can't carry them out yet. But what do we need to do in the 10? But we're going to sit and say the time has not come. We have to exert to advance that time. Right, for the time being, try within the worldwide such a connection the way you wish to bring to the world, and you'll see how much more work you have, that work that we're hearing you. Frequently, that the work and the connection between us, yes, how does that effort of connection with those 9, besides myself, how there does this remedy enter towards the whole world? I don't know how it can enter toward the entire world. Can you hear me or not? I don't know. I know only one thing, what is the place in which we can realize the method for the time being, and we should try to be successful. They thank you. Mar, if a person doesn't have part of their problem, can that be part of the solution? Person isn't responsible for the problem. Is it possible for them to be part of their solution? There's no responsible or not responsible. I need to find the problem in me in order to correct the problem that I see outside of me. Yes, let's say so. To incorporate correctly in the 10 in order to find the problems that I see in the world inside of me. I don't think that's the way we need to be connected together in the 10 as one man in one heart. Then on this condition, to the extent we approach it, the Creator will be revealed with all of its nature in the 10 inside of us and in the body of the 10, and then in at will will better understand the ways of his peace and his unity, and so on so forth. That's really our work. So actually he blames them. He says they are responsible and it's because of them, and they did this and they did that. It's very not typical. Why does he do that? I don't know. It's atypical or typical. Tell me what's the problem. Using words we can understand. He's calling them like so-called sages who have deviated from their path. Is it sages that deviate from their path causing a ruin? I don't know. There's always a dispute within the people. There always have been disputes. This grasp versus that grasp. You can learn from the story what he's telling us, and not more than that, and not try to understand it from our today's intellect. I didn't understand. I can't understand your question because I don't live in the same world in the same times to which you are sending me. There are 2 sages, greatest of the generation, and they had a dispute. So can we conclude anything from this for today? Let's keep reading and see heading the difference between a secular ideal and a religious ideal. A secular ideal stems from humanist and hence cannot raise it itself above humanist. Conversely, a religious ideal which stems from the Creator can raise itself above humanity. This is because the base for a secular ideal is equalization and the price of glorifying men, and he acts in order to boast in the eyes of people, and although he is sometimes disgraced in the eyes of his contemporary, he still relies on other generations and is still a precious thing for him, like a gem that fuels its owner although no one knows of it or cherishes it. A religious ideal, however, is based on glory in the eyes of the Creator. He who follows a religious ideal can raise himself above humanity. So it is among the nations of our exile. As long as we followed the path of Torah, we were safe, for it is known to all the nations that we are a highly developed nation, and they wanted our cooperation. They exploit us each according to their own selfish desires, but we still had great power among the nations. So after all the exploitation, there still remained a handsome portion left for us, greater than for the civilians of the land, because people rebelled against the Torah in their aspiration to execute their selfish PLO. They lost life's purpose, meaning the work of the Creator, and replaced the sublime goals, selfish goals of life's pleasures. Anyone who attained fortune raised his goal with glory and beauty. In consequence, where the religious man scattered his monetary surplus on charity, good deeds, building seminaries, and other such collective needs, selfish ones scattered their surplus on the joys of life, food and drink, clothing and jewels, and equalized themselves with the prominent in that nation. By these words I only mean to show that the Torah and the natural law development go hand in wondrous unity, even with blind fate. the bad incidences in the exile which we have much to tell from the days of our exile were all because we embezzled the Torah. Had we kept the commandments of the Torah, harm would have come to us. Okay, that's clear. He writes about it very clearly. For the people still you have questions. Know how to strengthen each other. Right intention, if I understood correctly here, he says we have some problem between, and that was always the battle within us too. Correct, I guess. He will provide some advice later. Okay, we'll wait. I still want to ask, maybe it's not relevant, but it is relevant actually. Today when we look at the people of Israel, the majority is people that say they're traditional, believe that there's something, can even do all kinds of things to kind of the most of them, yeah. You can see it. And nevertheless, with the war and all that, I hear this a lot from people not on the news. You don't hear it there, you hear it from people. They say the fact that we had all the technology and all those abilities and we were surprised. That's from above, that comes to give us some message. People say this clearly, openly, not just like that. So, what now? All that's happening now also, they're saying it's from above. That's from above. It's the same thing after the Holocaust also. How can it be 6 million heard it like sheep and terminated? How can that be? Where was the creator? Oh, he did it himself. They don't see where the creator. They say something out for the good. They somehow understand that it's somehow for the good, even though they don't really understand. The question is, what can you say to people? You can kind of like not pay attention, but they say they connect, it'll be good. How will I connect with him? What they hate, that's already too hard of a solution. There's this perplexity, which is very, very big amongst the public. People are perplexed even when we detect the hatred among the people. We don't see a solution for it, or let's say we wish to be connected, we wish to be as one mass, but how to come to it, that's not clear to us, because the moment we come out of that point, then once again we have this internal quarrel. So what can we do? Do you have a solution? Nothing. So many wise people, not one solution. Oh, there's only one wise person. No ruin of the temple came from the sages who went in the way, that is Lishma. That's where the problem came from. That's what the Rin took in order to receive, in order to bestow, until we will reach in order to bestow. There's nothing to expect from anyone. The only solution there's, according to my opinion, is here, and we read this in the first article. And what happened? We're scrutinizing, we're trying to come to, and also with the questions I see here, they're not questions for like what I don't understand. It's written here that, and was due to the fact that they didn't follow Lishma, and from that the temple was ruined. We have to go back to Lishma. So can we go in the street to tell them? What do they understand from that? Did they ever hear about in order to receive, in order to bestow? Has anyone heard that ever, except for us? Meaning we need to disseminate. Correct dissemination, make it clear to all avenues among the people what we have to aspire to know. So say we in the T need to reach Lishma. First of all, I don't feel like we're in Lishma in the T. The problem is here, not somewhere else. In fact, that we do disseminate, we have to disseminate. There's no with that we have to disseminate. The problem is within us. We have to reach, and I don't think that we are yet in there. Okay, and I know, give me a stick, then I'll beat everyone. I'm joking. I don't know what I really don't know. What it's an outcry, it's an inner cry. That I have an inner cry. That's what we're demanded of all of us, from us and the people of Israel, signed from the work. And so what's the plan? I don't know. People to scream like Lawrence, for everyone to stand up and scream, we want to reach LMA. I don't hear that people want to reach Lishma. That's me and you pray. I told you, I'll say it again, that's me and you pray. And we'll bring Lawrence in also. Maybe someone else wants to cry the cow out. I'm sorry that I'm saying what I'm thinking. Again, I'm not managing to understand here if the problem here is to reach, or that they follow the he call nice things in life. They see things that have nothing to do with the Torah. It's kind of like we know there's 2 degrees here. Where is the problem? After, he says in the end here that all the problems would be resolved if there weren't people that would use their surplus on the beauty things in life and not and replace that with the how do he say. They're giving money to the seminaries eater in place of them starting to live a life of etc. So I also feel that it's a problem, and also we already read that that was a problem. So what really, according to your opinion here, is the obstacle or what brings the troubles to us? I also think it's a problem what we are not aimed at the correct goal. We're spreading ourselves thin in all kinds of unnecessary directions are in building ourselves. We don't honor respect those people among us who have an for LMA. We have to crystallize more and make a proper inner calculation. Introspection continue from the most of people I live all my neighbors with all kinds of fancy cars. It's not I see only the attraction after the beauty of life, but the people of Israel are not supposed to behave that way, or is that not the problem all together? Really, what's important, the joys of life are not the issue here, and we just have to between those who stud, and there's those who I don't know, the secular, who don't have any connection to that question whatsoever. Religious people have connection, maybe they're theirs. Maybe there's the question there also between those who do say we'll use the either for or for our own benefits. So here there is a question whether this is the dilemma, if this is the quarrel that brings the situation upon the people of Israel, or is there another problem here that Palam writes here, which is that there are those who are completely disconnected and are spreading out their life on the joys, things. Okay, let's continue. Continue being the source of the problem is quite concealed. Yet say what I think, and I think that the solution is dissemination. Actually, you said earlier that there is a lack something that never was, and we're in a period that people really want, and we have the solution. 10 years ago we went out, we tried to lower the connection towards the people, the AR movement, but there was no lack back then. But today really, everyone wants, they don't know how, we know how, so why don't we arrange it and give it to them? We have it. Solution, and they want the solution here. So what where's it? Stuck. The solution is stuck as usual for many years, thousands of years in the execution. Application, that's quite simple. Today we really have an invitation from the people. They're ready. They're willing to do, really everyone's ready. Just how what's connection? What's the solution? We have actual models for all these things. Back then we took a circle and couples, and all of these different ways even go down to the lowest levels of things, that we have to come out of this somehow. But tend I understand our brother here. I'm also like him, really want. It may be that's what's making us stuck, that we are here so busy with ourselves. And how are we going to get to DMA? Well, their country is on fire. Again, one more discernment maybe that is worthwhile. I hear here a lot of these absolute definitions that that we're ready and there's a demand and they want. We need to understand that the situation today is so exposed, and this disaster that happened here to the people of Israel is far from being some understanding that it's a result of something, and to come and approach and use it as if there's a jumping board. Here I am not impressed that there is a redness for this thing, and that usually what happens in all kinds of things like that is that you try to take it. It can evoke a certain anti-resistive action. That's why we need to be very delicate with such a thing. Meaning it's clear that we need to talk and everything, but this tendency that now everything is clear and everything is ready and they're just waiting for someone to come with some. I'm not impressed that that's how it is at all. We have to be super delicate here, sensitive in consideration that people have been through trauma, that they still don't understand where they are. That's all. That's true. That's true. Can I lately talk to a lot of people, secular, religious, also at work, and they all agree with this sentence: love thy friend. Is that everyone agrees with that? Everyone Wants that in what way that's that. Doesn't matter, or it maybe doesn't matter, but I think that problem is maybe that we need to raise the pace of our work, internally and externally, but more importantly internally, meaning every day. We need to rise up more work more, demand more searching within that can add to the yearning to reach the goal. Maybe is the place where we can work on it together like a little child when he's growing. He walks on 2 feet, left, right, and we see this slowly. He grows until you can run nothing, and we have to take those examples, these simple examples, and to add within us the work that we're learning here from Ramesh. That's what I recommend. Let's say something. I want to go back to what you said, Ra, that we're in a lack when it comes to execution. What did you mean by that? Throughout the years maybe we didn't perform or execute the matter of dissemination in a successful way. So how do we need to do this? Ref. On. I don't want to say anymore. Lord, I don't. There's no doubt that we need to go out and widely disseminate to the entire people the way wanted and Rash wanted, and we need to also do it. There's no way around it. Just to do it, we have the content, we have friends, people, we have the material, we have the infrastructure, we have it all. We need to start working it, and I seriously hope we start doing it. Each and every 10 must provide a recommendation of what it recommends to do. Who's collecting these notes? So not languages. Every 10 MHM, yes, every 10, and every language can send it through, and then in 2 weeks' time, whatever we receive, we'll write it down and we'll start working. Why not utilize it now, where we have the power of the lesson? The tea are here, sitting here, 'cause when we disperse, you see, when the tea gather, not all the friends are in it, right? We're in the lesson. There's the power of the entire society, of all the tents you hear, and people will sit and start to do work. The power of the lesson is tremendous. It's a shame to miss it. What do I need to do? As you said, now let's sit on it. We have half an hour, we can sit on it right now, and the tea discuss it right now. In 30 minutes you're getting information, you're collecting all the ideas, and we can go out to some practical actions. Okay, let's say that, so let's go. Every single 10, doesn't matter how whole it is or not, needs to give now an answer what our role is and where we are at the moment, and how we are going to implement this practically, truly, in our lives, fantasies and things like that, but only practical things. Please, you going to listen to the focus, bro? I can say from my understanding that first each one needs to ensure that he's taking a role himself. One role inside the society is a focus group. We can't hear you. There you. It okay, good. As in short, I feel everyone needs a role in society, and sure, he has a role relative to external dissemination. There are many roles to take on here from within the system. Each one needs to make sure he has such a role inside and outside, facing inside and facing outside. In addition, anyone who has the ability to create content then to do it, because as we hear from the friends here, each one is in contact with a different part of the people, feels a different deficiencies, and he knows how to answer those deficiencies that he's coming into contact with. So each one here will create a different type of dissemination, and maybe by that we'll be able to cover a large SWA of their population. There's no essence to any explanation without it coming from connection. There's no fate for any explanation if it doesn't have a connection to come to think from the head and the intellect of every person. Hear what he would. There's a million people that say and know how to say things that are smarter and more correctly than us. What's special about us is that there's an inner force, and that force within comes from being connected to the sources, and to come from a connection. I would put the emphasis on those things and less on all kinds of external wisdom's very concrete question. We're talking around it. What's the question? H. 10 hour where we are and how do we realize it in practice in our lives in practice in essence in practice. I'm sorry, so our role is to explain that the salvation is in the connection. People of Israel cannot escape this role. We have to reach mutual guarantee. Everyone has to be responsible for everyone else. We can just enjoy cars and vacations and making money rather if we don't work relative to that the blows will grow to the two. The worst reach the worst part. I don't know how, maybe in the form of circles or more seriously, but that's the rule, and of course out of connection we to which from there the power will flow, but it has to pass into action. Rob said we're failing the action. We are directed correctly, but it's not enough and won't be enough unless we work on it. So I don't have an idea specifically, circles or something else, but that's the question. Let's discuss it. Let's around it more specifically. I don't know that we need to be ahead, that we need to be like just like the Tia said here. We need from the connection between us to reach Lishwa. We need to advance every day like Jonah said, and to add and to increase internality over externality and outwards. We also need to work the fact that we're not managing to execute, and there's some dead end. Here it's also something that the Creator has to open, and it's also that we didn't put our forces. Yet we need to truly engage in this. It's not something we're going to solve now. In half an hour let's go around. Everyone's going to say something and we'll go home. It's a process, a deep, serious process that needs to be continued every moment, every day, until we build ourselves as a head. Also the content itself, I'm not impressed, like was said here, that we have everything. I don't feel like someone who doesn't want to develop spiritually, that we still have explanations that are clear and simple to how to get along in life and how to come to agreements and to all those things about essential things, not just like that. There's a lot more work that needs to be done and a lot of development of content in the ways of dissemination. Okay, our media today is filling us with all their nonsense, and their goal is our goal is to do everything on these networks, say YouTube, Facebook, where people are today, where people are. We should reach those places freely, allow them to speak, open their hearts and around their real lives. How can life be better day in day out with education, with the right attitude in the family, things people can relate to, can identify with, relate to, not just take economics, depression, heavy things in the public, simple things that are now going really very hard in the public. And I think that inside those conversations on YouTube, on Facebook, doesn't matter where, you can open it up more generally and be there. 247 people, let's say they can sleep night, they can go there at night and have a discussion with someone. Has got to be something that's running 24/7 for everyone here. Israel, the world, everyone abroad can also go in. The Creator gave us the internet, and these things work so freely, specifically so we can go in there and do our work. There, identify with friends that we don't quite have the solutions, because if we had them I would go out and scream them out loud, and I'm certain, and it's the same for all the friends, because we need to come to the hearts of friends of the people, where each is in his own and only, and each is sure that he's right, and we have to come to that from our connection. I have no order formula, but we do need to try to practically take things outwards. I have nothing orderly or clear. It's burning for a very long time that we as a society need to try go out something to incorporate in the people, to incorporate, to understand that we don't have it, we're certain with it, and sure that if we do the work like see, that's the only chance we have, and we want to implement this chance. So the solution, say formula, just like we heard in the lesson, mathematically does not exist just in connection. That's also not perceived amongst the people, but we have to take this outwards. I don't know, I think we should win ourselves of this delusion of grandeur, where we can tell people how to behave. No one will come to hear anything from us that's not related to the wisdom of Kabbalah. Who are we? What do we have to show? There's someone here who expert these people can talk about economics. What can I say about economics? All these other topics to start explaining to people how they need to live. Good grief, who are you? You. No new age on a dime. You know I have a solution for life. We only have these sources that nobody else has. We have a Kabbalist who's our teacher and still with us. Thank God. We need to work on getting what we're studying. Hear what's written in the sources to bring it outside. How I don't know. Feeling with quote such things. We have to start working with all this thing around it. Oh my God, we have no success to show for it. We have something we can show. Look, we've done something. All we have is a 10. Anyone who ever came in contact with the 10, if it's not incorporated with it to a small and understands there something special, it's the only thing. From there we have to come out, and to there we have to go back to theirs. Nothing. So many circles go outside of the have thousands of tents with circles. They all empty. Nobody wants to sit in the circle. People are dying. People aren't certain this country is going to continue to exist. Circles. Who's going to sit in circles? I'm very impressed by the friends in the 10, and I'm envious that you feel these lacks on the outside. Always incorporating those deficiencies and the frustrations is a something that really raises the matter, I think. Nevertheless, our whole engagement is also absorbing these things, all these frustrations, and brings them here. This is where we lose all these lacks and add to the connection between us in order to come to this complete deficiency like we talked about in the beginning, and with that taken examples of from the friends and from Bassam Rash, how as much as they give in the internality, they also give an externality, and they give everything in order to disseminate even if there's no responses and no relation, that you could say that someone's relating to it because it's the truth and it needs to go out. Went to speak to for, and so if we have a way finding out how he got to him, what he told him, if it's written somewhere, that could be. You guys know that letter that Rabash invited been to his son's wedding there. From the archive he writes, sorry I received your invitation after the date of the wedding. I wish I could sit with you and your father and to continue about the interesting things that we talked about. It's interesting what we talked about. That's what's interesting. Hey, Isaac, he wrote here, the challenge is not to bring a solution, but to bring people to engage in tea, to be excited by the ideas of Rash and the sages throughout the generations, and start feeling the potential that's in them. Talk about this, discuss about this, and to be excited around that. It's not important that there's people that are smarter than us. There's nothing like the spirit between us, although we're not in attainment. It works. The people I talk with and on my podcast, within half an hour I start to feel that there's something, and this connects to what you said, and this exercise needs to be done every day, and let people hear and see this and strengthen them. Let them do this with their circles instead of going to religion or that. Friends TS who have ideas, and anyone here in the can vote, of course, in the you can put out the question marks. You have any good ideas, want to speak clearly, shortly, precisely, allows many friends to express their ideas in the remaining time that we have. So if we have any constructive things, please bring it up, and also send, of course, anyone who doesn't get to speak, send it to boworld@gmail.com. those who didn't get to speak, and also those who said they will send it had let's go has a question. What happened? Said you can give ideas from what we discussed. Said that it's good if you send your to board world CLE. We thought of hearing them also here. No, or I don't know if it won't spoil this one. SPO that please do it. I think that if you start now to read your things and his like that, then you'll spoil the momentum that already has been new crystallized. Question is what to do if in the tour we don't have one opinion. Each one has an idea. Work on it becoming one opinion. So they need to send. It's okay. Peter 3 want to support our friends who gather in as ye, taking upon them yourself this great work we want to pray for. You thank you very much. Latin 1 man just spoke about. Music question is how to look from different to look at. Find a one point of view because every friend said something very different than the other. A friend said, maybe I'll say in the name of many friends, we have to first of all, on our behalf, not to try to understand something within what's happening, but to make all the efforts in order to impact the heart and draw the mercy of the Creator, and to enter into the work in the tense with, through reading Psalms, a daily portion, a daily dose this time, and by this we'll be able to help the quality of the dissemination you're writing. Meanwhile, yes, to the email address boardworldcle@gmail.com. Okay, English 1. Madam, yes, good morning. I think we need to pray for the friends we underestimate. Prayer, and this is our weapon. When we pray, we connect better, and through a connection, we disseminate better. In English, this English room few minutes ago, there was only 3 friends with camera on, and I began to pray for the friends, and in less than 30 minutes of praying, this English room was filled with more friends. Some of these friends were in my prayer. This is the power that we have when we pray. The Creator answer, and we need to thank you. Okay. You Matt 5. Good morning, dear. Good morning. World CLE. We are discussing in our 10 that we feel we need to be more personal in the spreading of the knowledge of Harbor, and we need to add more value of ourselves to this knowledge to make it more accessible and more connecting with the outer world. This is what we thank you. Kenchak 1. Good morning, friends. On the one way we are make denomination of Kabbalah, of course we must, but just only minority of people are interested in to start learn the root. I think that we should be focused on the second line. It means like integral education or topic which are people are interested in at this time, and this is personal development relationship, because this part of education because is like, let's say, tick people are interested in, and I think that we must go inside this topic and bring the inside this impact of Kabbalah and how to implement on the school on the topic where people are. Thank you. Are 10 landed around this idea, something we feel for a while since last Passover, that the focus in our lessons has gone to the Israeli Kli. The remaining time is dedicated to the rest of the world. We talked about how the rest of the world needs to wake up and be more active, because it says that certain that the nations of the world will bring the people of Israel to the Creator. There's a desire to have such a connection in the T between the tens in order to incorporate with Israel C and to understand how to support it and advance it, because we know we feel how much work the friends in Israel are doing, but there's also kind of despair that they're not able to awaken the people of Israel, and we want to help in doing it, but there's so little time for us want to know how to connect correctly and push Israel. He probably need to write to Burr World CLE to summarize with them in what manner and what way to talk to them, in what way the whole world CLE will be able to participate more actively in all the projects in our matters to lessons. Questions, it all depends on you. Another question. Please, it's my personal opinion. I haven't discussed it with others, but since a year has gone by when you went down to the study hall, you're focused more on the Israeli CLE. It's not happening by accident. I guess there's a thought behind it. It's possible, and I probably need to distance from everyone. You're right. Yes, good morning, dear. To develop, let's say, a mutual sense of deficiency of the seriousness and importance of dissemination. Why dissemination? Because we can develop, let's say, truly helping others in the world to reveal the Creator, and to have this sense that we have the opportunity of bestowing there to everybody, and that it is very serious, and that it is very urgent, and we need to develop this deficiency together, mutually together with the world CLE and not only Israel. Very well, okay. So what else do we need to do? We have announcements. Conclusion Sunday 6:30 p.m. We have a gathering of friends, a global gathering of friends with physical gathering here. In our centre everyone is invited, men and women 18 and up. Announcement head of the Passover Eve. We inviting you to a powerful evening of connection lectures, fascinating conversations on the essence of freedom, according to wisdom of Kabbalah. Friends, the chatter in the hall is very distracting. Again, ahead of Passover, we are delighted to invite you to a powerful evening of connection. We're going to hold wonderful conversations and lectures on the essence of connection, according to the wisdom of Kabbalah. Free in our land, coming out to freedom and reinforcing the Israeli spirit here. 63 in view. Welcome to invite friends and family, and you can early bird prices right now today. 11 a.m. Facing the Future with Dr. Laitman at noon. Afternoon lesson at 5:30. Reading the study of 6:30 p.m. Gathering of friends and 7:30 our reading and day. So speak, let your heart listen. Shoulder to shoulder, you won't be alone. Love is around the deepest. All together we drawn in. I won't let go. It feels so good to be a part of you. This is what their life should be. Learning to unite, living in the light. We win this fight and everything's going to be alright. Learning to unite, learning to unite, living in the light. We'll win this fight and everything is going to be alright. Learning to you, dearest friends, thank you for being, thank you for hearing what my heart says. Now is the time for the wall to be broken, for the doors to be open. It's time to PR. It feels so good to be a part of you. This is what the life should be. Learning to unite, living in the light. Win this fight and everything's going to be alright. Learning to you, learning to living in the light. We win this fight and everything's going to be alright. Learning to you, there's only now only this moment when we are together as one.